Okay, I'm on the line right now with the great Pete Caldera of the Bergen Record, also known as NorthJersey.com on the web. And Pete, how are you?
Great, Rob. How you doing? Good to
Good,
hear
man.
your voice.
Good to hear your voice. So let me start by asking how. Well, let me also start by saying, obviously, you know I'm a huge fan of yours. I read you for years. Let's start with that.
Thank you.
Secondly, you went down to Florida, obviously for spring training. COVID-19 hits. What happens? Walk me through your day.
Uh, it was more acute at the Yankees camp than it was almost anywhere else because there were two cases on the minor league side, and that kind of really brought it. It brought COVID-19 right there into spring training, and once they canceled the exhibition games, which is around March 12th, the team is on the other side of Florida. They're, I think, Jupiter. You come back to Tampa, and the reality is that there's no games. That's going on in Arizona. It's going on in every Florida camp.
Yeah.
But where the Yankees were, a couple days later, there's two cases on the minor league side, and that kind of brought everything home. And they went very rapidly from Zach Britton taking a head count, and everybody wants to stay, and they're all committed to staying and working out in Tampa to everybody's going to go home now. So it seemed like that everything was changing almost hourly,
right,
in that story. And I hung around Tampa. There were a handful of little writers that were still there. We could, and by that time we were long out of the clubhouses.
Right.
So we were just trying to get players coming in and out of the complex just to get something of what was going on every day. What's it like in there? And we did that for a while, about a week, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then it was everybody was kind of told to go home.
I was I'm in the North Jersey area, so I was in a situation where I was told to stay home like everyone else, and you guys are there. So how? And I know it was very confusing for a lot of us because we were told to wear masks and we were told not to wear masks, told to stay away from each other, and then other people were saying, well, this is blown out of proportion, it's the flu. What are you guys? You guys are all close. You're all beat writers. You're all Yankee writers for years. You know each other very well. Are you guys suddenly practicing social distancing, or is it just one of these things where you don't know what to do at that point?
Yeah, I think we were at the at the time. Obviously, yeah. It was kind of a slow boil, and then it was. It came to a roiling boil, so you knew, by the time everyone was leaving Florida and going to their homes, we knew all about, the distancing and carrying Purell on you if you could find some, and
right.
just trying to be very careful with everyone and anything you came into contact with. And when we were outside, the complex, just kind of waiting for people that I think we practiced it as best as we could, but you learned so much, and it became so much more acute and serious as every day went on that you kind of look back and you think, all right, was I really as careful as I should have been? Or,
yes.
Even go back even further. Should they have even been playing games? I mean, we knew about this stuff in early March. They played till March 11th.
Right.
I did wonder. You'd wonder. You're standing on a concession line, or you're at the ballpark. Is this going to go on? And is this safe? And what's going to happen here?
Oh God.
And all that kind of happened. Fairly quickly after that. But it was a strange time, and in Florida too was, it's one of the states where the guidelines seemed a little different there. They seemed a little more relaxed about certain things. Restaurants and bars were open, after they'd closed in other cities and in other states, and maybe the realities of it didn't really hit there as quickly as it did in places like San Francisco and Seattle and New York.
And on that point, DJ LeMahieu, I remember reading that he was going to stay down there and continue to work. Now, I don't know what happened with that, but I know that Michigan was in a bad state, and that's where he's from. Did he end up staying there? I never heard anything more about it after that.
Yeah, he went home.
Oh, he did?
To Michigan, and I think, Zach, guys like Zach Britton went home to Austin, Texas, where fortunately he's got he just built a huge gym, and he's got a pitching mound in his backyard or something he can throw off of. So yeah, I think, a lot of these guys are, just trying to do what they can in the places that they are outside of Florida. I think, the guys like Aaron Judge, who have places in Tampa and were technically still rehabbing, stayed around. I don't know how much of access they had to the complex after a certain date, but those guys are still coming in for a certain amount of treatment you'd expect. I mean, there's still guys that are rehabbing that need treatment and have to be watched, and these are still valuable assets, and you got to assume that if they do start up, they have to know if they can perform, that's all part of this strange mix. The Yankees have players as far away as Tokyo,
right?
With Tanaka is back in his home country right now. So you talk about a spread out team.
Right.
They're all over the globe.
Now, how do you've been doing this forever. No one's more, I want to use the word nimble, but you're very successful as far as you moving and shaking, getting these interviews, and I always call them nuggets. You know how much of a fan I am of yours, and I know you get bashful of me even saying it, but the reality is you always come up with something good in an article that I'm like, I love the article, but then I find this little thing and I want to expand on it, and that's what we do at BYB. But how are you able to do it now, not having that access? I mean, can you call these guys up?
Well, I think what you got to do now is just, what we've been doing is a series of, and we started it early, where we've done a feature basically on every guy in the 25, what should have been the 25-man roster, or what you would think would be going north. So every other day we've had a different feature in there, and but those quotes are, that it's either stuff I had the notebook that I didn't use, or or stuff that we had saved for a future featured story that now we have to fire that now.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of this stuff is it's saved up stuff, and then occasionally I've been very the guys like Kenny Singleton and John Flaherty have been very gracious with their time and just trying to get their ideas about what's going on. We've done that. Zach Britton had talked about before we left Florida, playing in that empty stadium in Baltimore 5 years ago, and what that was like, and got to use that and talk to Joe McEwing, who's third base coach, the ex-Met. He was the White Sox third base coach. Talked to him about that. That was, he was there that day, so that was a story. So you're just kind of on the run doing what you can.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Rob, it's no substitute for the baseball we want to see and what we'd expect. And I look at my calendar every day. I think, like this weekend, it was the Yankees should have been playing the Red Sox.
I know.
As cold as it is, it might have been rained out last night, but it's about 40 degrees as I'm talking to you here. But there probably would have been a game at the stadium between the Yankees and the Red Sox. In another week, you'd have the Yankees at Houston, and all that was going to entail, and how much we were looking forward to that scene, and how crazy that was going to be. Yeah. With Cole back in Houston and the whole sign stealing stuff, and it was all going to come up again, and you wondered
I gotta
two teams gonna brawl or something, or what that would look like.
Yeah,
that whole thing would have been so much fun.
Everyone's excited about that, and as a fan, look, I don't know. I don't know. You know, you're busy, but I don't know if you ever read. I can't let go of this Astros thing. I can't. It drives me crazy, and I don't like the way Manfred handled it. And it bothers me every day that the players didn't get the punishment that they deserved. And I wanted to get your take on it. I know you probably, I don't know how you can or cannot comment on it, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a situation where to get the uninhibited truth out of the players, you had to offer some immunity, and in exchange for that, you couldn't punish them for what they said. So, that kind of catch-22. I know in some respects, yeah, I guess Manfred's hands were tied there.
Yeah. But is it
yeah.
In your opinion?
I think the real punishment is in the court of public opinion. Is that championship tainted forever? How tainted is it? Is it legitimate? Are your stats legitimate? Are is your Hall of Fame track for certain players? Is that altered?
Right.
There's more damage that beyond what a suspension or a fine could do to these players. They've got to live with that. They're outed as a team that cheated its way toward a world championship, and around the game, they're not looked on in too great of a light, and that's going to be with them for as long as they play the game. So
do you think it was manufactured?
That's part of the punishment, really.
Okay, so do you think it was? I mean, that's why Manfred. I mean, that's why he handled it that way, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the fans that are going to say yay or nay. You're tainted or not. And
yeah, Rob, I just don't think he would have gotten as much truth out of them if he did not.
Yeah.
Promise immunity for and then you go to, all right, so some players were on that team for 2 weeks, some of them were on there for the whole year and a half. I mean, where do you draw the line, and how do you
right,
and then what do you do, stagger out the punishment? You still have to put a team out there to play a schedule. So I don't exactly know how you would have doled out the sentencing and to whom and how much.
Yeah.
I think it was the idea of holding the management and the front offices mainly accountable for the players' indiscretion. I think that was probably how it had to go.
Okay.
Because I just don't see it practically how it could have been done. Now, once you've been put on notice for this, I think now it's, hey, I mean, you do this again, I mean, there's going to be some serious ramifications, and that should include the players now. But
I got you.
For this, if you want to call it first offense, or at least first offense that was caught,
right?
I don't see how they could have really done it any other way. But yes, I mean, in a broad sense, I mean, I'm disappointed in the commissioner in other ways, but this I think is, once you gave the players immunity to tell their story, I don't see how it could have come out any other way.
All right, now you gave me another nugget there with that throwaway line about you're disappointed with the commissioner in other ways. What are the other ways? Can you reveal that?
Well, in the last Red Sox situation, it didn't seem like there was much punishment at all. I mean, and this investigation went even longer than the Astros investigation, and it just didn't seem like there was much of anything there. And that's, and in certain instances you had some of the same cast of characters.
Yes.
There was already punishment that was doled out to Cora, but does this should have been more? Well, it seems like there should have been more. It doesn't seem like there was much of anything done against the Red Sox, and they had been caught once before. In 17 with the Apple Watch situation. Rob, listen, I think if we had to, really be truthful here, you know, it's not just the Astros, it's not just the Red Sox.
Right.
You know, I'm sure on a multiple level, there's been a lot of teams that have been involved in stuff that they shouldn't have been doing.
Yes.
And these are the teams that got caught in a big way, and it was a huge story for the Athletic to get Mike Fiers and to come out and expose this. And what great, it started with the great journalism of the Athletic exposing this and getting people on the record, and then the dominoes started falling pretty rapidly after that. Let's not pretend that this didn't happen to some extent any place else in baseball. That's why the thing that really surprised me almost the most out of this whole thing was how strongly a lot of the players came out on other teams to really hammer the Astros.
Oh yeah,
because you got to think that maybe some of these players who wouldn't they know if it happened on their team or happened on other teams they play on, or happened elsewhere in baseball where they have friends. I hope there's a lot of really clean houses in baseball for the guys who came out and really hammered the people that were involved in the Red Sox and the Astros scandals, because I can't think this was isolated to two teams.
You are 100% accurate on that. It's just one of those things where you see the one thing that bothers me the most, I think, with the Red Sox thing, first of all, is the Cora situation. He's punished for the 2020 season that we're not playing. So I don't know, when we're going to play. I guess rumor is July. I don't even know if that's accurate. But the reality is it's really not a season, I guess, technically it is. But you know what I mean? And then he's going to be able to be eligible again, which is kind of silly to me. But the second point is, you're right. I mean, these players, they find ways to do it. Now, the only reason why I get so aggravated with the Astros, and maybe the Red Sox to some extent too, is that it was like this strategic operation, the way it was reported. And that's what really kind of drives me nuts. I think if you could figure out what a pitcher's pitching, you can whisper that to your teammate. You guys figure out the combination, the pattern, you start to kick ass doing it that way. I think that's more baseball. When you start to have this operation of a room where they're, banging a garbage pail, that's when it starts to get a little crazy to me. But I don't want to harp on it because that's not your gig. Your gig is the Yankees. So I want to ask you about Cole, because this was such an exciting acquisition, and you got to see him firsthand in the Yankee uniform. I mean, what does he look like?
What's impressive about Cole is that everything he does has a specific purpose. The way he plays catch, warms up, goes about his between starts routines, his exercises, the weightlifting, whatever, you name it. Everything he does has a specific purpose, and at every outing he had in spring training, you've seen a million spring trainings. You know, right? You're gonna go try to go an inning plus in the first outing, and then maybe go to 3 in the next one, and get up to 60 pitches in the third one, and
Yeah.
But all of that's not just routine to him. There's a purpose behind what he's working on, what he's trying to do, which pitch he's trying to develop, what he's going to do in a certain count, in an exhibition game.
Yeah.
This is a really, really interesting guy, and just shows that the commitment behind and the responsibility. Listen, you would have that in any situation, any day, but you take that contract and you pitch for the New York Yankees, and suddenly all of this is magnified to a crazy degree, and yet Cole understood all this before he even put pen to paper and signed his name there. He's had an understanding of who he is as a pitcher and a person. He's the responsibility of being the guy who is going to take a lot of the criticism and absorb the spotlight when things don't go right.
Right.
So he's prepared for all that as well as he can be, but he's not, but he's got a playful side to him too. He's not all business, but he's certainly all business on the mound, and when he's working up to that start, he's on a lot of ways a very impressive guy. And that started the day he was introduced at Yankee Stadium, evoking the names of Kurt Flood and Marvin Miller. In accepting a contract, I have never heard a player. Two guys who are not with us anymore, who did more to boost the players' salaries and their standing in the game in the last 55 years than anyone else, and that was impressive right off the bat. Yeah, no,
I agree. He's a very, very smart baseball guy, and I didn't know much about him. I've seen him pitch. I always thought he was a decent pitcher, but then I started to pay closer attention, knowing that he would be a free agent, and I was just so impressed with his stuff. And hearing what you have to say about him, it's just that impresses me. I'm happy that the Yankees got this guy, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him throw. On that note, you got a guy like CC who's no longer playing. Tell me about Sabathia as far as a guy and leader in the clubhouse, because I've always been a huge fan of his as well.
I think CC's best attribute in the clubhouse sense was just how welcoming he was. It's a guy that he's often spoken about how he wasn't treated very well as a rookie in Cleveland, but that was in an era when when veteran players were looking out for themselves and maybe not willing to help a guy who might take their job eventually. That resonated with Sabathia, and he knew that when he became a veteran voice, that he was not going to be that type of guy. And so Sabathia was always the guy that brought people together, the welcomer, the guy whose door was always open and was always taking groups out to dinner, to basketball games, to concerts, to whatever. There was a very welcoming aspect to his personality, and that I think that resonated. First of all, and obviously, what a competitor. I mean, this guy's just even and you saw even when the fastball faded, he remade himself into a winning pitcher because he had to, but he knew how to do it, and he knew that he had a responsibility to be the best he could with what he had. And I don't think there was any more fitting and tribute to a career like that than to literally leave everything he had on the mound of himself the last time he pitched, and that was leaving that playoff game at Yankee Stadium was basically his arm hanging by his side.
Yeah. How many years have you been doing this? How many years have you been writing, not just for the Yankees, in general?
I've been on a travel baseball beat since 2000, starting with the Mets at the Record. Before that, I was at another paper that I was covering a lot of the home games of the Mets and Yankees from about 1997. So I was actually I covered the perfect games of Wells and Cone for another paper. Just happened to be there those days and cover those games. So I go back that far with the Mets and the Yankees.
Is it a great gig? Is it a fun gig for you?
It's if you love baseball and you love to travel, there's no better job to have. And that's the great really the great part of it for me, and that's obviously what we're missing right now. The most. And you really, it's the travel that can wear on you, and it's probably what ultimately drives people out of it at the end. But if you still love to travel, even the worst of it, if you're covering a Sunday night game at Fenway Park and you got to be in Arlington, Texas, the next day for a Monday night game, dragging through Logan Airport at 6:30 in the morning after you covered a 4.5-hour Yankee Red Sox game is not. Right. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. That is the worst aspect of the job. But right. If in a general sense you still love to travel, it's a great job, and that's the part that we don't know when it's coming back and when it does, in what form it's going to take. Because when last we left, I was on a plane back to New York from Florida that had 12 people on it on March 25th, and wow. Are the writers going to be a part of this travel? If they start up in spring training again in the middle of June, will we, being the media, will we be part of this, or will we have to continue to cover these practices and these games remotely?
Right.
I think that's something that remains to be seen. I don't expect to be getting on any planes going to the West Coast, but if they're playing, if they're playing in the division, will we be in Boston, Toronto,
right.
Tampa, in Baltimore? Will we be in those places, and what will the coverage be like? I think we're all kind of wondering how that's going to be.
Last question for you. Are you missing singing at the Carnegie Club?
Every day.
I got to tell our audience, and I've told them before, I've only been to 2 of your shows. Only 2. I always tell you I'm going to come to another one, and then something always happens. I got sick once. I couldn't get a babysitter once. But if anyone who doesn't know this, Pete sings at the Carnegie Club. He usually gives me dates. I usually try to plug it on Bleeding Yankee Blue. It is a fantastic night out. We had such a good time. I plan on doing it again, I promised. I've told my friends about it. We want to get a group together. If we're ever able to come out and actually be normal people again, I would love to go see it. But how did that even start for you? How did that even start that you became a singer at the Carnegie Club?
Oh, that was wild. I'll give the very short version, because this is, it's Sinatra, Bobby Darin, Tony Bennett type stuff. I love, Sinatra's my favorite performer. And when I was covering the Mets, Bobby Valentine knew I liked to sing occasionally. We were on piano bars around on the road and stuff, Chicago. He introduced me to Willie Rizzo, who was the son of Jilly Rizzo. Jilly Rizzo was Frank Sinatra's best friend probably the last 20 years of his life. Willie had a club in Chicago on Rush Street. He let me sing there with the band, and it took off after that. And
wow.
After that, when I got with the Yankees beat, I was singing at a restaurant that's still there with a great piano player, Kitty Daniels, called Donatello's, and that became kind of a spring training thing. And then back in New York in about 2006, I got with the Stan Rubin Orchestra in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And that's where we've been every once a month, singing standards with the Stan Rubin Orchestra, and occasionally filling in for Stephen Maglio on the Sinatra Saturday shows at the Carnegie on Saturday nights. But that's all on hold too. It's
such a good show. I loved it, and I can't wait to see it again when it happens. But you ever think of making an album? You should just go for it, man. You do a lot of great stuff, man.
All that stuff. I like the live stuff. I just love doing that stuff in front of people, and being with
Pete. Do a live album.
5 or 6 piece band, and then the 11 pieces we have on Saturdays.
Oh, it's so great, man. I have such a good time. It's such a good time. Anyway, listen, thank you. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for taking the time and talking with me. I've been reading you forever. Glad I got to know you. I'm glad we're friends today. And I'm glad you came out and chatted with me about life right now, because it's absolutely crazy.
Anytime, Rob. I appreciate it. As Flaherty said to me when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, I got nothing but time here now. So
It's so true. It's so true. All right, Pete, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, you got it, Rob.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye-bye.